This
Mike
conference
Shire.
will now be recorded.
Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Okay, it seems to be 9 o'clock then. We'll have a call to order. Well, my name's Martin Shipston. I'm the chairperson of the Committee of Adjustment, and I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. The committee members include members of council. However, we sit at this table as the Committee of Adjustment and not as members of council. Our jurisdiction lies solely with matters of consents and minor variance applications. The secretary of this committee is Alicia Hugel. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variances and consents within the Township of Southgate and is held under the provisions of the Planning Act 1990. This hearing will be in accordance with the Provincial Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Township of Southgate official plan. So to start, may I get a confirmation of the agenda? Mover and seconder, please.
I'll move it. John?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jim. Okay, be resolved that the committee confirm the agenda as presented. As usual, any declaration of pecuniary interest, say it now or arise during any time during the course of the meeting and what we're going to be looking at. So can I get an approval of the minutes from the previous meeting? Mover and seconder, please.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded, John, thank you. So be it resolved that the committee approve the minutes from the meeting as presented, last date's meeting. I will ask that anyone speaking about an application to state their full name and address for the record. Please keep all remarks relevant to the consent or minor variance application before the committee. Any material submitted to the committee for viewing will remain the property of the Committee of Adjustment and will be available for public viewing, and the application file may be placed online. Please direct all remarks and questions through the chairperson, being myself. This will enable the hearing to be conducted in an organized manner. So, Clinton, the first one you have up is 6.11, a validation certificate request.
Good morning, committee. So I was listening to your opening there where the Committee of Adjustment has authority over minor variances and consents. They also get one other little task here, and this is validation certificates. And as you can see from my report, a validation certificate is basically like get out of jail free card, if you will, or an oops, we made an error back when and we just need to fix up the title. So that's essentially what's happened here. There's been a title issue where the property that the Ronza own can't be registered properly, and because of our road allowance and the deal with that. And so they're requesting a validation certificate so that they can register it. So it basically gives them a pass saying, yes, we know it wasn't done properly back then, but we're recognizing that and fixing it now. So that's the nature of a certificate.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the letter from the lawyer, and it does go all the way back to, where is it here? 1978. So it's a matter of good housekeeping, then, cleaning everything up.
Exactly.
Okay. So any comments from the committee?
No, I think this is just good cleanup, get things back in the right order. So it's good.
Yeah, so it doesn't come back in 10 years again or whatever. Okay, so we'll go through all the things. May I request a mover and second to grant, refuse, or defer the application? So all in favor?
I'm in favor of granting.
I'm in favor.
Okay, that's great. So with the validation certificate request for the Ron Family Farm, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receives staff report PL 2020-063 for information, and that the validation certificate request be approved by the Committee of Adjustment as represented in lawyer Gil Deverlong's letter representing the Ron family to resolve this land titles matter. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Bear with me, I'm just bringing everything else up here. Okay. So the next on the docket is A2-20, and it is for William Martin, Wilmar Inc., Concession 11, South Part Lot 23, Geographic Township of Croton. And hold on here. The purpose of this variance is to permit the enlargement of an existing barn. The proposal requires relief from section 6.2E and the minimum distance separation of the bylaw, which requires a setback of 9 meters from a side lot line. Has there been a request for deferral or withdrawal from an application? Seeing none, we can proceed.
None received.
Okay, thank you, Clinton. Can I have a clarification that signs were posted?
Yes, I confirm that the sign was posted and notice was given.
Notice, okay, to the applicant, is the applicant in attendance? If so, would they like to come forward to present their case? Hearing nothing, I will now ask Planner Clint Frederick to review comments received and present his report.
Thank you, Chair Shipston. So we'll go through the comments first. So the first comment I have here is from the building department. They have no concerns or objections and just indicate that applicable permits will be required. The County of Gray indicates generally staff would recommend considering reviewing the above, consider reviewing the above noted criteria to ensure the proposal has enough reasoning to vary the MDS guidelines. If there is further opportunity to resituate the proposed barn expansion such that the variance needed for setback and MDS requirements is less than what is being proposed, staff would encourage this approach. Provided positive comments are received from the local conservation authority and further options are considered to resituate the proposed barn expansion, county planning staff have no further concerns. The Enbridge Gas has reviewed the application and have no concerns at this time. Who else do we have here? We have the Historic Saugeen Métis indicate that they have no objection. And Public Works indicate a safe access can be provided. Road widening is not necessary and it is a load restricted road. Okay, so that's all of the agency comments I've received. As far as the application itself, it's a minor variance, so it has to complete or meet rather the 4 tests of a minor variance. It has to be minor in nature. It has to be desirable and appropriate development or use of the land. It has to maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan, and it has to maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. And my report goes through all of that in detail. I'm wondering if Lindsay or Alicia could share the screen there for council for page 32 of the agenda.
You said 32, Clinton?
Page 32, it's the drawing that was submitted. Because I want to speak to the county comments on that. There we go, perfect. Thank you, Alicia. So as you can see, there is an existing barn there, right on the, almost, it's 5.2 meters off of the property line now, and it's sort of built on an angle. And then there's an existing shed a little further. So their expansion really will connect the shed and the existing barn. But at no time is it going to be any closer to the property line than what's currently there. And to me, that's an important feature. We're not making things any worse from the perspective of bringing it closer than it's already, the existing barn already is. The other thing that I want to point out is if you notice on the other side of the lot line, there's a bunch of trees and scrub and whatnot. That's about 150 meters of EP land. So there's not going to be anything developed in that area anyways, where this minor variance is being requested. And so for that reason, we felt this minor variance could proceed. If they, for whatever reason, tried to flip the proposed addition so that it was on the, I guess, southwest side where that little purple blue triangle is with the dashed line, it would be too close to the house, and the site wouldn't function. So that's why it's being proposed where it is. And I see there is justification for the MDS and side yard setback reductions. And so I'm recommending approval of the variance.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that about the trees on the other side, because that would be a problem. That would be a problem if there were houses there, right? That's what you're saying. That would be a problem with this?
Yes, because you're increasing the amount of livestock that's going to be in that area, and
Yep.
we're reducing the MDS, and the setback for that is supposed to be to reduce odor conflicts. So having it quite a bit further away, the reduction of about 5, or I think it's between 5 and 10 meters, really isn't going to make that much of a difference when you consider how far away things are.
Okay. Another question for me, Clinton. It says on the map there that the existing barn, the smallest difference is 4.3. I'm assuming that's legal as it is. So they were just expanding from that point?
It's what they call a legal non-complying use. So it was built prior to MDS coming into effect. And so it's permitted to stay there. But when you add on to it, you can't make things any worse, is how the MDS works. So that's why we're here asking for a variance, because while we're not making the distance any worse, technically we're adding more livestock, which would increase the amount of a setback required.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can see the sense of this, because it wouldn't work if it was in that little blue triangle. May I ask what the blue lines are around the two? They're probably horse stalls, if I know this property. The other blue lines on it? Just for curiosity's sake.
I believe those are actually, I don't think they're horse stalls. They're actually areas that are.
Oh, those three, yeah, those three-sided little huts they use for horses, that kind of stuff, not actually enclosed buildings?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So is there any comments from John and Jim here?
On here.
No, none here. Looks straightforward to me.
Okay. I'll go through their script here. Is there any others in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application? Any persons attending in opposition of this application? I'll ask again committee members if there's anything else to discuss.
None here.
Hearing none, so I'll need a mover and seconder. Can I move it this time? I'll
So
move it.
Martin,
Yes, Lindsay?
it's best if the chair doesn't move or second unless you have to because of
Oh, okay,
members.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Can I have a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move that.
And I'll second it.
Okay. The decision of the Committee of Adjustment is just to grant the application, and be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receive staff report PL 2020-053 for information, and that the minor variance be approved. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Da, da, da. Okay, the next one is 7.2 B5-20, Ken and Tracy Seville, concession 7, lot 19, geographic township of Croton. And I did notice on the application form, there was no, on the consent application, there was no file number or anything filled out there. So I don't know what that means, but. But anyway. Computer's slow. Okay, the purpose of this application is to create a new rural residential lot that is 1.125 hectares in size. The effect is to sever a 1.125 hectare parcel of land with 150 meter of frontage on Southgate Road 10. Pardon me, the retained parcel shall be 38 hectares in size with 250 millimeters of frontage. And again, this is for Ken and Tracy Seville of Concession 7, Township of Croton. Is the application, oh, sorry. Is there a request for deferral and withdrawal from this application? Hearing
None
none.
received.
Hearing none. Thank you, Clinton. Lindsay, were the signs and things like that posted?
Martin, it's Alicia, and I can confirm that the sign was posted and proper notice was given.
Great, thank you, Alicia. And I will now ask Planner Clint to review all comments on this report.
Thank you, Chair Shipston. So first up, we have the building department comments. They have no concerns with the application and just indicate that the development will require applicable permits before construction. The County of Grey, County planning staff recommend receiving comments from the Conservation Authority regarding the above noted natural heritage features. Staff have also reviewed the associated environmental impact statement submitted by Riverstone Environmental, and staff recommend that the recommended measures by the consultant to minimize the potential for environmental impact be implemented. Provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority regarding the natural hazard features, county planning staff have no concerns with the application. Moving along, we have Enbridge Gas has no concerns at this time.
Okay.
Who else we have? Hang on, I'm still reviewing here. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection or opposition. And we have, let's see, who else do we have here? Hydro One has no objections to the proposal at this time. The Public Works Department indicates a safe access can be provided. A road widening is required, so that'll be a 3-meter widening across the severed and retained portions. And it will require a new entrance, obviously, for the new lot, so a permit will be required for that. And that's all of the comments. So my report basically, this phone is driving me crazy today. That indicates that we should approve the consent subject to a zoning bylaw being in full force and effect, and a survey is provided, and any outstanding fees and charges. I would note that that isn't included in that should be included in that is also the 3-meter road widening that's being requested. That was just an oversight there, that it didn't make it into that conditions there. So a 3-meter widening is required for the severed and retained portions.
Okay, any comments from Jim and John?
Not here.
No, none for me.
Motion.
Did you get anything from the Conservation Authority?
I don't have anything in front of me. However, we may have gotten some recently. I would note though that the reason why the parcel is so wide, it's like 150 meters in width or in frontage, is because they are keeping the building envelope far enough away, allowing for a building far enough away from the natural heritage feature being this woodland and wetland like area, and also including a 30-meter buffer from that. So there's a building envelope outside of all of that. So they're respecting the recommendations of the EIS, and that was what was I guess agreed upon with their consultants, their EIS consultants. So I don't, like I said, I don't have any comments right now, but I don't imagine it's going to be an issue with the setbacks that are in place there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just wondered because I read the county and they really did make a point of saying trees and what have you. And I am just looking at the map. There is a lot of woodland there, but other than that.
Yeah, so in the figure 2 of it's actually the second attachment to my report, you can actually see in detail where the significant woodlands is, and then there's a 30-meter buffer, and then the remainder on the west side is all for development. So we're doing our best to stay away from that area with this.
Chair Shipton, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this application is in conjunction with a zoning that we heard earlier I think in June, and the SVCA commented on that application. So that's possibly why they didn't submit any for this one, just because it's the same.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
That's cutting the red tape, I guess. That's very good. Okay. Any members of the committee have any other questions? Oh, excuse me.
No.
Okay. Is anyone in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application? Hearing none, is there any that is against this application?
Hi, it's Ron Davidson speaking. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Davidson. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So Ron Davidson, I am the planning consultant representing the Sevilles. I think everything's been pretty much covered. The Conservation Authority did write a letter back in June, as we heard, in response to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and all they said was they support it as long as the recommendations of the environmental impact study have been implemented, and I believe they were in the zoning bylaw amendment. As for the rest of the severance, it conforms to the County of Grey official plan and your local official plan. The Seville's simply want to sever a lot off so their daughter can move back home and build a house next door. It's a stunning area if you've been down there. I'm sure it'll be a nice looking development when all is said and done. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I have no other questions.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, if I might.
Yes,
Brian
go
Millen.
ahead. Yeah.
Just wondering why, maybe Ron can answer this question for me. Why not leave the significant woodland in the buffer zone with the retained parcel?
I can't recall the answer to that. I met with the owners back in March and filed the application 6 months ago. I think they just wanted to square up the property. Whether or not though the woodlands are kept with the retained parcel, or in this case with the severed parcel, they're protected one way or another. I don't think it's. I would say it's neither here nor there where those woodlands are attached to.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. So, Mr. Davidson, that 30-meter buffer, that's all part of parcel so they can actually build on what's got lines on it, or what's the building part. They need that 30-meter buffer to come away from the woodlands then. So it's, as you say, it's just squaring it up, making the actual building part of the lot legal, I guess, is the word.
Yeah, I would say that. It gives them a little bit more wiggle room or leg space, if you will, to walk around. Myself, if I was buying the property from my folks, I'd want a little bit more land, including the woodland. I don't know. It just makes for a nicer property. I think if it's a little bit larger and it's got some trees on it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So with this, Clinton, you mentioned that there are conditions, but there has to be one more met, that 3-meter road widening.
Yes, that's a condition that the Public Works Department would like to see on there. It's fairly standard for severances. If one hasn't been provided in the past, then we request it.
Okay, so the zoning bylaw, it's full for the survey to be provided, taxes and all that, plus the 3-meter road widening.
Correct.
Okay. May I request a mover and seconder to grant, refuse, or defer this application for B520?
I'll move it as amended with the 3-meter setback in it.
Oh, yeah, amended. Thank you, John.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment received staff report PL 2020-049 for information, and that severance be approved with the following conditions. 1, that a zoning bylaw is approved and in full force and effect. And 2, that a survey be provided. And 3, that all outstanding taxes, fees, charges are paid if any. And with the additional 3-meter road widening being included. And all in favor?
I am.
Okay. Carried. Six. The next one on the docket, as they say, is B620 for Lawrence Martin, concession for part lot 16, geographic township of Egremont. Excuse me. And the purpose of this application, excuse me again, is to sever the grain business of approximately 2 hectares from the larger agricultural parcel and merge the retained lot with a 6-hectare lot to the north. And the effect of this is to sever a 2-hectare parcel of land with 183 meters of frontage on Southgate Road, Side Road 55. The retained parcel shall be 22.72 hectares in size with frontage on Highway 89 as well as Side Road 55. And the retained lot will be merged with the neighboring 6-hectare lot to the north being concession 4, North Park Lot 16, RP 17 R1 261 Part 1. A lot of numbers. Is there a request or deferral or withdrawal of this application?
None received.
Thank you. Alicia, we're all on the signs and everything done according to?
Yep, I can confirm that the sign was posted and proper notice was given.
Thank you, Alicia. So Clinton?
Thank you,
No,
Chair.
actually, I might as well go through it. Is the applicant in attendance? And if so, would they like to come forward and present their case?
Ron Davidson is still on the line.
Oh, okay.
I am. So can you hear me again?
Yes, we can, Mr.
Okay,
Davidson.
perfect. Yes, thank you. So recently, council dealt with the rezoning application that was associated with this file. As you're probably all well aware, Mr. Martin runs a grain drying operation, and I don't think it's any secret that he proposes, or there's interest from another party in acquiring this parcel. The new party wants to expand the operation a little bit, and he wants to be able to, first of all, therefore sever off the existing operation, plus a little bit more land for a total of 5 acres, so that when the new owners do take possession, they can grow the business a little bit. That's essentially it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Clinton?
Okay, I'll go through the comments then. Just a second here. Okay, so the first comment we have is from the building department. They have no concerns or objection with the application, and just note that applicable permits will be required before construction, and a barrier-free washroom may be required with the septic system. Enbridge Gas has no concern or objection. They do note that there are service lines in the area, and it would be at the owner's expense to have any of those moved should it be necessary. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection to the proposal. And Hydro One has no concerns with the application. The Public Works Department indicated safe access can be provided. A road widening is not necessary. Originally, they indicated that it's a rural gravel standard. However, the site plan agreement was to pave a section of Southgate Side Road 55, and they've confirmed recently that paving is complete, and staff will be bringing a report to council to lift the road restriction access for the fall of 2020. So it'll be a year-round road for the portion that's paved. The County of Grey, their comments, if I can summarize them here. County planning staff generally recommend an update to the acoustic assessment report to determine whether additional noise mitigation measures will be required, given there is further clarity on the proposed agricultural related use expansion. Staff also recommend comments are received from the Conservation Authority, specifically for the identified stream on the subject property. The county requests notice of the decision with respect to the file. So just as a comment to that, I attempted to address that because this has been done, I guess, business has been growing in stages, if you will. And Some of the improvements for noise mitigation have been completed, but I can't verify that all of them have been complete. And so that was suggested that if it hasn't already been done, then that a condition is that a development agreement or an agreement be in place that those conditions for the improvements recommended in the noise assessment be completed and that agreement be registered on title. So that's one of the conditions I recommended, and that's just sort of dotting our I's and crossing our T's to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks. So here, see if there's any other comments, and that's all the comments I have. So I am recommending that it be approved with the condition that the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment are approved by the county and in full force and effect, and that the retained lot is consolidated with the lot to the north. There is a parcel to the north that the retained lot will be merged with, that a survey is provided, and that a development agreement is registered on the severed lot to ensure that the noise mitigation measures are addressed. So those are, as I said, those are the typical ones. The planning consultant for them has done a very good job in terms of explaining the application in their planning report, and the drawings that they provided are very helpful in explaining that as well. And I'm recommending that it be approved with those conditions.
Any comments from the committee? John, Jim?
Nothing for me.
Trying to find a map, but there's not very many houses around that, is there?
There's a few across the road.
Oh,
the biggest one is actually the owner, who is on the other side of Side Road 55 there. When you change ownerships of properties, you create the potential for a conflict because they're no longer in the same ownership, right? So that's the biggest one, but there are houses across the road in the other township.
Okay. And has there any been, or would you even know this, has there been any complaints as the way it stands now with the buildings without the additions? Or would even that come into Parcel?
Not to my knowledge, there hasn't. MOE
is, sorry, go ahead.
I believe it's MOECP has the guidelines for this in terms of noise assessment. So it's actually, they're the ones who would sort of be the complaint agency for if the noise guidelines were exceeded.
Yeah.
But I don't believe there have been, from my knowledge.
Well, if it comes from them, there'd definitely be a record of it, I would think. So, okay, just a question. So may I request a mover and second to grant, refuse, or defer this application?
Mr.
I'll move
Chair,
that.
Yes,
Can I have a
Brian,
question?
go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Clint, what is the nature of the noise and what is the mitigation measures that are being asked to be addressed?
So with the expansion, there is an increased noise with the grain dryer, and so they've had to put some baffling, or they're supposed to put some baffling around the top where it's making noise. And there was a few other recommendations in the report, the noise assessment. I can't recall what they are offhand, but though I think there was 3 things, if I'm not mistaken, and they have to be done prior to it being fully up and operating. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
And who will be the final arbiter to decide whether those measures are complete? You or the MP?
Well, it'd be actually the township would look from the perspective of, have you gone and done what's being proposed in this noise assessment? You're going to point it out to us. And then if there's a complaint, and they start exceeding these noise requirements, then either something's broken or it wasn't done correctly. So they're put in place to try and make sure things stay within those MOECP guidelines. So they would be the enforcement agency primarily on it, but we would certainly get the first call for that and to follow to make sure that they've done what they said they were going to do. I'm sure you're familiar with other grain drying applications that have had to do something similar.
Well, I am to some extent. That is true. The reason I've asked the questions is that I want to make sure that the recommendations or the requirements are clear and that the applicant has a clear route forward instead of just some arbitrary, noise thing, because noise is very subjective.
Yes, well, they did the study, the noise study, so it had recommendations in it to make alterations to the plant. And
Okay.
all we're trying to do is make sure those alterations happen.
All right, as long as it's clear to everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. That brings a question from me. This is for the plant, right? The noise mitigation, but with the paving of the road and the expectation that it's going to be going around all year, do the noise from the trucks have anything to do with that mitigation, or is that just a part and parcel of, or that would be within their hours of operation? They do make noise, and if there's going to be more of them, just a question.
I believe it's factored in, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It certainly wouldn't be necessarily addressed with hours of operation, mainly because with things like this, the dryer could be operating
24/7.
24 hours a day at certain times of the year.
Okay.
So I would be hesitant to put any hours of operation on something like that.
No, I just thought of building it bigger and having more noise, and then with all the more trucks coming in, they'd make. I just wondered if it was part and parcel. So, okay, thank you. Are there anyone in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application?
Yes.
Not hearing it.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, Mr. Davison.
Yes, it's Ron back. Yeah, so sorry. So yeah,
Yep.
just very briefly, since you guys are asking questions about the noise study, the noise study, the only issue, and Clint hit on them, there are just a couple of minor things, and they pertain entirely to the house directly across the side road, which just happens to be owned by the applicant. Now, of course, just because he owns it doesn't mean we have to turn a blind eye to it, because he could sell it tomorrow. But again, as Clint said, there were 2 or 3 really minor issues, and one of them involved going up and put some type of sheathing around the motor or the dryer. Actually, I think he was replacing that dryer, and that may have already been done. So yeah, again, and to answer the question, no, there's never been any complaints to my knowledge, because I had asked Mr. Martin that question before, if any of the people to the south living in the Wellington County had ever said anything. And again, the last time I spoke with him about that issue, no, there's never been any concerns. So again, the noise mitigation only pertained to that little house on the side, the other side of the road, and actually the owner said if it ever became an issue, he'd just knock the house down if it became a problem, but he doesn't want to do that because he rents it out.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Is anyone in attendance with this virtual meeting in opposition of this application? Hearing none. Any more comments from the committee?
None from me.
Okay. So may I request a mover and seconder to grant, refuse, or defer this application?
I'll move that we grant.
And I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receive staff report PL 2020-050 for information. Excuse me, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions. Number one being that the Township Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment be approved and in full force and effect. Two, that the retained lot is consolidated with the lot to the north, that a survey be provided, and that number four, a development agreement is registered on the severed lot to ensure that the noise mitigation measures are addressed. And last but not least, number five, that all outstanding taxes, fees, and charges are paid, if any. All in favor?
In favor.
Great. Thank you very much. And the next one on the docket is B820. I'm just trying to bring it up on the computer. Okay, here we go.
Morning, Kyle.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kyle. Okay, this is B820 for Murray and Brenda Calder, Concession 3, Egremont, Part Lot 43, Geographic Township of Egremont. And, excuse me, the purpose of this is to sever 8.29 hectares of land containing the house, repair shop, and accessory building from the larger farm holding. The retained parcel, comprising 28.62 hectares and containing one poultry barn, would be merged on title with the adjacent 1.89 hectare lot containing the other two poultry barns and accessory building, thereby forming a 3.1.52 hectare parcel. No new lot would be created as a result of this lot line adjustment. And the effect would be to reorganize the lot lines to have one parcel form 31.52 hectares that contains all of the barns and a separate 8.29 hectare parcel that would contain the house, repair shop, and accessory building. No new lots would be created. Is there a request for deferral or withdrawal of this application?
Oh,
Hearing
sorry.
none.
Yes, there's been none received.
Oh, I heard you that time, Clinton. So Alicia, with the signs and everything legally posted?
Yes, I can confirm that the sign was posted and proper notice was given.
Thank you. And it says, is the applicant in attendance? So Kyle, would you like to say anything on?
Presentation sounds accurate to me.
And so it should. Clinton? It's
Thank
your
you.
turn.
Thank you.
You're
Chair.
welcome.
So I just want to ask if Alicia would bring up page 152 of the agenda.
Is that the drawing, Clint?
Yes. Just so people get it in their head of what we're talking about, and it'll make a bit more sense. Because it is a little confusing. It's just a lot going on with the application. There we go. So you can see there to the west is the part to be severed, and then to the east is the portion to be retained. You'll note there's a little note on there that says existing lot to be enlarged by merging with the retained parcel. So that little tiny lot there that is sort of a backwards P is what's going to be added to the merged parcel that's outlined in blue there, and that will be one parcel, and then the severed will be one parcel. So though that's where the barns are currently, and there's a little dotted line on the merged parcel that shows where there's a proposed new barn to be located on that area right there. So that's just a little bit of where, and you can obviously see its relationship to Holstein. It is relatively close. So I'll just read through the comments now, and then we can talk about this in a little more detail here. So just the building department has no concern or objections with the application. The development will require applicable permits before construction, obviously. And they do have a comment that a farm nutrient management may be required to be provided for review before the permits can be issued. The Enbridge Gas Inc. indicates that they have service lines in the area, and if the severance affects any of those, the relocating them would be at the owner's expense. They never tell you where they are, though. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection or opposition to the proposal. The County of Grey. So let me get to their comments. County planning staff are recommending deferral of the subject application until such time as further assessment can be completed for the potential location of the poultry barn, i.e., is there an opportunity to have this situated entirely in the agricultural designated lands? Potential impacts to the neighboring residential units of the proposed development, and there's may be an issue with county OP conformity. So they're requesting notice of the decision. I just want to talk about that comment for a minute, and maybe Kyle might jump in here too if he has something else to add. But what the county is suggesting is that the consent shouldn't happen because the barn might be placed too close to Holstein, basically, because technically the new barn that they're proposing to build would be within the settlement area. And when it's within the settlement area, MDS doesn't apply. But they're concerned that there would be a conflict with this new barn and surrounding residences. Now, that issue, in my opinion, is to be addressed in detail at the zoning stage, and we haven't brought forward the zoning amendment yet. That would be done at a future meeting. Their consultant, Kyle's consultant rather, Ron Davidson, had provided a planning justification for this. We did have substantial pre-consultation with the county on this application. And one of the reasons why they want the barn where they want the barn has more to do with the safety and security of their barns rather than, and the animals inside them, obviously. If you were to place the barn all the way out on side road 41 there, there is a potential that it's so far away from the house where they can be easily accessed that individuals can cause some problems for them, or animals for that matter. Who knows? But for security purposes, they like to keep their barns together and ease and efficiency of operating. So that's one of their primary reasons for requesting it, the location there. In my opinion, that issue has no bearing on whether or not the consent is good or bad. So in the absence of building at all, is the consent a good idea or a bad idea is what we're looking at. I don't want to scare Kyle here, but if, for example, it turned out that the barn couldn't be located in that location, there's still room elsewhere on the property for it to be located. And for that reason, the severance, in my opinion, can still proceed. So that's why I don't think it's necessary for a deferral of the application. And I think so long as we say that, provided a zoning bylaw is approved to at a later date, which it will be, hopefully, if we bring it forward, that should be sufficient to meet the county's concerns. Okay. The other comments we had is Public Works indicate that a safe access is provided. It's a rural asphalt. They indicate that as this was a former Grey County road, it appears that the road widening has already been taken and therefore they're not requesting one. And as you can see in my report, I'm recommending a zoning bylaw amendment be approved and in full force and effect as a condition of the proposal, and that the large lot is merged with that the backward shape P, so the retained portion, that a survey is provided to recognize all of those changes, and then the additional fees that are required as part of the application are paid when the time comes. So that's it for the comments that I've received.
Okay, thank you, Clinton. Members of the committee, any comments, questions?
None here.
Go ahead, Jim.
Good planning report and lots of information, so no, I'm good.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
I have none.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said you did. My apologies. Okay, I have, so basically, Clinton, looking at this map, if Grey County doesn't like where they want to put the building because it becomes merged, they can put it elsewhere going east on that new merged property then. There's no problem with actually putting up a barn, it's just where.
Yeah.
Is that what you were saying?
Yes, it could technically go, in my opinion, on Side Road 41 there. However, I've explained the reasons why they would prefer not to do that. But again, I don't even want to get into that discussion for this because I don't think it's appropriate. Just the only test that should be is, can the barn go on the property? And the answer to that is yes.
Okay. And with Gray's comment about the public in the settlement area, there was no complaints about this put forth, and there's probably never been any smells about it. So just a question, is there any way with the Holstein being in the settlement area, where does that cut across the property? Is that on that map, or is it even there?
The severed portion?
Yeah.
It would all be in the settlement area of Holstein.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Kyle, do you have anything to add? You're obviously in support of this application.
Yeah, that's right. Just a couple of comments. Clinton, that was very well said, the way the presentation was made. With regards to comments about a nutrient management plan, we have been working with Cleon Martin and have a submission into OMAFRA right now. And Cleon has a fair bit of experience doing it regularly. He did look at our manure storage at the top of the hill and found it to be in good condition. As far as neighbors with any concerns, we haven't heard anything. Our closest neighbors are the Allens, and we actually received from the Martins directly to the north of us a signed copy of the notice that was mailed out in support of our adjustment and barn.
Oh, okay, good.
Could we have a copy of that if it's available?
Yes.
Good.
Clinton, would it suit to email that to you?
Email it to Alicia Hugill. She's the Secretary Treasurer, and she'll make sure it gets to where it needs to go.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. So no other comments from anyone or the committee?
None here.
Good, okay. And there are conditions to be met. So may I have a request for a mover or a seconder to grant, refuse, or defer this application?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Jim.
And I will gladly second it.
Thank you, John. Okay. On approval, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receive staff report PL 2020-50 for information. Oh, sorry, wrong page. Me bad. Approval or refusal. Approved, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receive staff report PL 2020-52 for information, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions. 1, that a zoning bylaw amendment be approved and in full force and effect. 2, that the large agricultural severed piece be consolidated with a lot 123-342 Southgate Road 12, that a survey be provided, and that all outstanding taxes, fees, and charges are paid, if any. All in approval?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And we move on.
Look forward to see the zoning stuff when it comes.
The next one on the docket is B3-20. I'm just trying to pull it up here. For William Penny, Plan 480, Block Q, Part Lot 8, Lot 9, Geographic Village of Dundalk. And the purpose of this application, excuse me, is to create a semi-detached lot which contains an existing semi-detached residence. The severed parcel will approximately 511 meters squared and have a frontage of 10.165 meters and a depth of 50.29 meters. The retained lot will be approximately 511 meters squared and have a frontage of 10.165 meters. Both parcels have frontage on Gray Road 9. The effect is to sever a lot along the middle of a semi-detached structure to allow for one half of the semi-detached residence to be in a separate ownership. Is there a request for a deferral or withdrawal of this application?
None received. This is hearing the deferral of this application from the previous meeting, so.
Yep, okay, that's right too. Thank you. Is the applicant in attendance? And if so, would they like to come forward to present their case? Hearing none. Clinton?
Well, it'll be a shorter meeting this time around.
Yes, it will.
So I'm not going to reread all of the comments.
Yep.
I will bring out the two comments that the committee specifically asked for additional information on from the building department and from the public works department. So The Public Works, I asked our Public Works manager, Jim Ellis, for some comments, and he indicated that he looked into this section of Maine and Victoria backyard drainage concerns in around the mid-2000s. They were looking at installing a big old drainage pipe in the center of abutting backyard properties, with each section having a catch basin to collect surface waters, and outlet would have been the west side of the sidewalk going to Victoria Apartments, where we could tie into a drain pipe that is there currently. This was to be a shared cost venture with property owners and would require easements to maintain the drainage. At that time, owners were not agreeable to move forward. He's attached a map showing the proposal and estimated lots that are impacted still with pooling of water, especially in spring thaw and heavy rain events, to where it would be outletted. So you can see on the map that blue dotted line is where the drainage easement would go. The vacant lands towards Main Street in the middle of that would be the subject property, I believe. And so from Public Works perspective, there isn't an agreed upon drainage plan for this area, and specifically for Mr. Penny's lot. The building department indicate during bylaw complaints inspection, it was noted the grading around the building is higher than adjacent properties. And then he quotes the surface drainage of the building code, indicating that a building shall be located or the building site graded so that water will not accumulate at or near the building and will not adversely affect adjacent properties. He attached a number of pictures showing sloping towards adjacent properties, as well as ponding, which may be a result of damming. As the building department is not familiar with this lot previously, it would appear that grading is affecting adjacent properties. No sign of correctly installed drainage from property was evident at the time of inspection. A professional engineered lot grading plan is advised. So then he provides a number of pictures showing how the lot is graded. And so that all of that stated, it supports my recommendation that an engineered grading and drainage plan be prepared for the development and for the consent to proceed.
Okay. Any other comments from the committee?
It looks like it's back in the hands of the builder.
Yeah.
Yeah. No comments from me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, water can be a very damaging thing, as we all know. And if the neighbors aren't willing to help him out, it is his project. So I myself, if I was a builder, I would do everything to keep the people around me happy. That's just my personal opinion. So yeah, I do agree with the need for an engineered grading. So are there any in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application? Hearing none, or is there any in attendance that would like to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none. The conditions are there. Clinton mentioned them. Do I get a mover and a seconder to grant, refuse, or defer this application?
I'll move we grant it.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I think we have to second that.
Okay. So with the approval, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receive staff report, excuse me, PL 2020-033 for information, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions. And then 1, that an engineered grading and drainage plan be prepared to the satisfaction of the township, and 2, that if required by the grading and drainage plan, a 3-meter drainage easement along the rear of the property be registered in favor of the abutting lots, and 3, that a survey prepared by an Ontario land surveyor be provided, and 4, that a development agreement be entered into which includes the engineered grading and drainage plan, site plan indicating parking for each new property as a single residential unit and as a residence with a secondary dwelling unit on each new lot, on property snow storage locations, and provisions for the removal of stored snow at the property owner's expense should it become an issue as determined by the Township of Southgate or the County of Grey to ensure public safety. And 5, that all outstanding fees and charges are paid, if any. So the decision of the Committee of Adjustment is to grant the application with these following consents. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe that is it. So the last course of action is to say the adjournment. Be it resolved that the committee adjourn the meeting at, I have 10:12.
We just need a mover for that,
Oh,
Chair
sorry.
Shipton.
Yep, thank you, Lindsay. I don't know what I'd do without you. You wrote my script and you're telling me what to do now. So thank you very much. Can I have a mover and seconder for adjournment, please?
I'll move that one.
Thank you, Jim.
And that leaves me for a seconder, but I'm
Okay.
undecided, really.
You're undecided? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you, Clinton, everybody.
Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
There's another meeting today at some time, isn't there?
There's 2
1 o'clock.
more.